And it's about that time, ladies and gentlemen, and bringing you to the WAPJ studios. It's another episode of Words of Wisdom and Moments of Meditation, brought to you by none other than T-Boz. Good morning, sir.
Good. Oh, you're leading me into it. I'm going to go for it. I hope it's not disrespectful. Good morning, Mr. Williams. And yes, everyone knows my radio name is T-Boz, but my real name is Bozzy, B-O-Z-Z-I. When I was in school, I said like Bozo with an I. But anyway, Soman Jock and I were off air before. I said, so you're going to be doing Ozzy and Bozzy and Bozzy and Ozzy. So I hope that doesn't turn off any people who love Ozzy Osbourne. But a great talent. Rock and roll heaven is getting fuller, unfortunately. Ozzy, and then we lost, what do you call, Sly and the Family Stone. Not the whole family, but Sly Stone. And then we lost Brian Wilson. So rock and roll heaven is going to have an awesome concert with the late, great Ozzy Osbourne. I'll be honest with you, boys and girls, because this show is about honesty. I was never really a fan of, I guess it would be hard rock or heavy metal. I'm not sure Jock could tell you that. But listening to Jock's tribute to Ozzy Osbourne, and then Jock's description of his music, I really came to appreciate in the last half hour, 45 minutes, of really his talent and the songs and the production of his music. And so, folks, we talk about a lot of things on this show. You got to go through life with an open mind, all right? You have to. You can't go through life going, I don't listen to that, and I don't go there. And you live a life like that, you might as well just live in a cave. But I really came to appreciate that, and I want to thank Jock for not only playing the music, but describing what some of the songs were about. So thank you for that, Mr. Williams. And as we move along very quickly, the Yankees and the Mets are in second place. The Yankees are chasing the Blue Jays, and the Mets are chasing the Phillies. And the Red Sox are in third place. So that's our little update with baseball. I know Jock would like to have the Yankees in first place, but they should be getting there. We still got all of August and September to go, so let's see what happens. So, speaking of going and the World Series, let's get over to the guy who really makes the program great because it fills people's appetites. And then when Jock comes over at the end, people like to gather around the dessert table and talk to Jock and talk to each other and communicate. So there he is, and he's wearing an Ozzy Osbourne T-shirt too, and it's all tie-dye and all of that. So good morning, Stanley, and it smells delicious as always. What's in that beautiful big pot today, Stan? Vanilla di Coco Supremo. Oh, very Italiano, and it smells very vanilla and the cocoa mixed together, fabulous. And look at, Jock, you're going to love this when you come over here. There are bagels, there are donuts, there's lots of yogurt, all different flavors. And then there's a tray of cookies, too. Wow, I mean, really went overboard. Who's our sponsor? Who's our Torrington business sponsor today, Stan? None other than Gingras Subaru over there right on Main Street. And Lady Diana did a little business with them. And Hawk and the manager, Ty, did a great job. They're very customer service oriented, got a great product over there, beautiful building. I watched them build it a few years ago. So if you're looking for a Subaru, you don't have to look any further. Torrington's top Subaru dealer is right over there on Main Street. So thank them for the dessert table. So we're going to have some light fare, just a little program note. By the way, George just brought this to my attention. The downtown Christmas in July tonight has been postponed due to the weather. I don't know if they're going to reschedule, but that would have been a great thing. But you can't have people having a good time in the rain. So that's Friday night. It was supposed to be tomorrow night. So thank you, George, for that. We do have our topic today, which is love, but someone has a question in the back. We do this now once in a while. George, could you bring the mic? Ma'am, could you hand that to that gentleman in the back? Yeah, right there. Okay, sir, hurry up. What is your question? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, that is a great question. A lot of you, what he asked was, what is Ephesians? What is Corinthians? What is Philippians? Right? You hear me say that a lot on this show. I'll say Corinthians 9:13 and all these types of things. Okay. What I'm talking about is St. Paul was an apostle. We won't get into the whole thing on how he became an apostle. Just take my word for it for now. He was an apostle. And when after Jesus went to heaven, after he rose from the dead, then Paul spread the good news. The word gospel means good news. And so he walked all over the country land to all different cities. And so when he says the Philippians, that was all in Greece, these are cities around Greece, Philippi, and there was Corinth, okay? So that's where the Corinthians were, and the Philippians, and the Ephesians were from Ephesus. So to put it in modern terms, let's just say St. Paul started in Torrington and he went to Goshen. So it'd be Paul's letters to the Goshenettes, let's say. And then let's say he went down to, say, even his Bridgeport. He walked all over the place. And it would be Paul's letters to the Bridgeportians, okay? So Galatians, Philippians, Corinthians, those are the names of the people, like we're Torringtonites, that lived in those cities. And that's what those letters are for. And actually, I have a few Bible quotes today from Ephesians and Corinthians. So that was a very good question. Thank you very much for that, George. Thank you for helping with the microphone. Okay, hope that clears that up for some of you who don't follow the Bible. That's okay, but we're an all-purpose program here. So love is in the air. Lady Diane and I have under 900 hours till August 30th. So I thought for this week and next week to keep it light fair. Next week will be my last program for the summer. And then after the honeymoon, then we'll pick up the steam again in mid-September, early September. All right. So just so everybody knows. So I wanted to keep it light fair, and we'll delve into more deeper topics when I come back. But I wanted to keep it light fair. So we're going to talk about love today. Love is important in all relationships. Jock talked about this earlier today. It's important in our relationships with our friends and our brothers and our sisters and our mother and our father. And then there's two kinds of love. There's communal love, love of country. Like we said, Jock loves the Yankees, all right? There's that kind of love of a friend. And then there's romantic love, all right? And that's what we celebrate, like Valentine's Day and those kinds of things. So I'm going to talk about both today, how they affect our relationships with each other. So we're going to piggyback on, we did communications 2 weeks in a row, but as you're communicating, love is the basis that all this stems from. So let's start with our first quote, and it is from Corinthians chapter 16, verse 4, and it says, "Let all that you do be done in love." And the word I'm going to pull out of that is the word in. All right, so St. Paul says that love, let all be done in love, not with love, but in love. And so we are in a state of being. We are in something when we love. And so when we're doing things, when we're helping one another, when we're caring for people, we want to be in that frame of mind. We want to be in that spirit. We want to do things with love. But in order to do things with love, you have to be in love itself. Okay? And so I love the way he says that. We look at this statement and it says, at the core of all human relationships should be love. It is the most important need that we have. We all want to feel loved, and we have a great quote over here about that. So at the core of all human relationships, we want to feel loved. We want to feel accepted. We want to feel that someone wants to be with us, that someone enjoys when we're around. Okay, so love encompasses all of that. So it is the most important feeling that we have. We look at Corinthians again, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13, and it says this, for these three things, all right, for these three things remain. Faith, important, hope, important, and love. But in all of these, the greatest of these is love. Boom. Now, I find that kind of interesting because we're taught, right, to have faith in each other, have faith in God if you're a believer, or faith in whatever your spiritual being is, right? Maybe you're a Buddhist. Doesn't matter, right? But faith, right? We want to have faith. That's important, right? Faith in our towns, faith in the project that we're working on. We want to have hope, right? Hope for the future, hope for our grandchildren. My friend Barbara has a grandniece that's getting married the day after Lady Diana and I. She wants the hope that they have the best that they can have in their marriage, right? So these are strong, strong emotions. But what St. Paul tells us is more than faith, more than hope, love is the most important. Why? Because you can't have faith if you don't love. If you cannot have hope for someone or something if you don't have love, if you're not in that being of love. So that's why St. Paul tells us of all of these together. And then he goes down another verse and says, love binds them all together like a wrap. So faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love because that's the core. That's the foundation that faith and hope are built on, which is so important. We look at Bill Russell, and he says, this is beautiful. To love somebody is nothing. Hang on before you all start shaking your head. To love somebody is nothing. To be loved by someone is something. To love somebody who loves you is everything. Boom. So what Bill Russell is talking about is love is a two-way street. So to love somebody is nothing. So to have someone love you is something. But to love somebody who loves you back in that intensity and that amount of emotion, he says, is everything. And it's so true. I saw that with my parents in their marriage, okay? And I see that in the new romance with Lady Diana and I are about 15 months now. And I see that. I feel being loved by her and me loving her. It goes back and forth. That great song, Evergreen, by Barbra Streisand. One love that is shared by two. Isn't that beautiful? In other words, it's not his love, her love. It's one love, one entity shared by two. It's beautiful. And so that's what Bill Russell is talking about. We go down to the next quote, Scarlett Johansson, and she says, you must love yourself before you can love another person. Bing, bang. Say it with me, class. Boom. And Whitney Houston had that great big hit back in 1986. The greatest love of all. The greatest love of all is learning to love yourself. Okay? You cannot enter into another relationship with another human being, regardless, right? You cannot enter into another relationship with another human being. You cannot be a good father. You cannot be a good mother. You cannot be a good person. If you feel crap, excuse my French, about yourself, you're going to bring that crap into that relationship. If you haven't cleaned up or dealt with or faced the things that have been haunting you for life and you think you're going to get married or move in with your boyfriend or whatever it is you're going to be, and you still feel like a pea, guess what? That relationship is going to fail. Because you don't love yourself. You don't have respect for yourself. If you don't have respect and love for yourself, you cannot and you will not be able to love another person. So it's important to make sure that when you're entering relationships, whether it's friends or otherwise, if you need counseling, if you need therapy, if there were things in your life, somebody did something to you, it wasn't your fault, get a handle on those things because you're going to drag that stuff right into that relationship, and it's going to jeopardize that relationship. Trust me. 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 2 to 7. If I have faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I have nothing, St. Paul says. He goes on further to say, if I give all of my possessions to the poor, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. Boom. So you can give and give and give. All right? You can have the faith that can move a mountain, And to us, that looks like, wow, baby, look what he just moved that mountain. But that's how important. If you don't have love, as cool as that looks, moving that mountain, as great as it is, helping the poor, without that love, zilcho, you've got niente, as they say in Italian. Nada in Spanish. We're multilingual here. Okay, you have nothing. So there are people that give and do, and sometimes they're like, hey, look at me, look what I gave. But if they don't have love, they gave it falsely. There are people that do great things, moving mountains. But if they do it without love or not in love, like it said in our first quote in 1 Corinthians, then they're just doing it for their own self-stuff, their own self-acknowledgement. They're doing it for the applause. But if you do things, as it says, in love, then you will be very, very successful. Let's keep moving on here. No, yeah, you can go up and have something to eat. You can have something, no problem. Thank you. People are just still coming in, John. I can't believe it. We look over at Ephesians and 4 and 32, chapter 4, verse 32. And it says, be kind and compassionate with one another. It doesn't only say your spouse or your love interest, with one another, forgiving each other as God has forgiven you. Bing, bang, boom. We talked about forgiveness. When God forgives, he forgets. When we forgive, that's us releasing the anger and the bitterness that we have toward the wrong that has been done to us. But it doesn't excuse, okay, the fact that someone did something wrong. And then that'll be dealt with at another time. But you have to live a life of forgiveness. And so he also says, St. Paul says in Ephesians, be kind and compassionate with one another. Okay? Having patience with one another. Love, remember that thing? You've heard it at every wedding. Love is patient, love is kind. All right? That's St. Paul again. But being compassionate with one another, and it only doesn't mean your love interest, like I said. It could be your son, your daughter, that your college granddaughter that maybe you don't understand why she's going to school for this thing that you don't know if she's ever going to make any money at it, right? We talked about that a couple weeks ago with communication. But if you have compassion, that leads understanding, then you can love that granddaughter, support her efforts, and maybe if she asks for guidance, you can give guidance, as we heard last week in communications, with love. So see, it goes right back to do all things, as it says in Corinthians, in love. So we want to put ourselves in that spirit, that essence of love, not romantic love, but love of another human being. I got a great biblical story. I think it's only 11:28 because the clock across the street here, Jock, is wrong. So if you're free, if you could do the sponsors now, because I don't want to have to stop in the middle of this story, and then we'll continue onward.
Stop.
What happened?
Nothing.
No? You're Ozzy Osbourne?
I was just making a little joke that I don't think you got it, but that's okay.
That's okay. We like I said, I'm getting married in under 900 hours. We want light, fair, and happiness here and all of that. So go ahead, Jock. Do the sponsors. You're the pro.
We just want to take this opportunity to thank you, T-Boz, and thank our sponsors for allowing us to bring you the quality community radio programming that you're listening to at this particular time. We want to encourage each and every one of you to participate in our local community radio station, because there can be no community without you in it. Our local and live segment each and every Thursday is your time to share with the community what you're up to, what you're into, and what you're all about. And we want to make sure that we're engaging our community so that everyone can be informed about the great events, activities, and programs that are taking place. So with that being said, we'll return the floor back over to T-Boz for more words of wisdom and moments of meditation.
All right, thank you. And I don't know if they were going to play the song that you wrote and produced at this Christmas in July. I know they played at Christmas time, but Jock had wrote a wonderful song about Torrington, and it's very interesting. It has a little bit of rap in it, and then it has like some soul in it, and it really shows the town with the lights and all of that. And I don't know if they were going to play it tomorrow night as a thing, but it's when Christmas comes, boys and girls. We're only 5 months away. Listen for that song. It's a wonderful song, and my my mentor here, Jock Williams, is the writer and producer of that with his company. So very talented guy. And what? This one wants to know, will you sign an autograph? Yes, he will. When he comes, he's very nice. He's nicer than me. All right, let's get on to our try and have fun here. Our Bible. George, could you bring the air conditioning up a little bit? Thank you. All right, our Bible story, Matthew, verse 9, chapter 13. And this is a very interesting story. So, and let me clarify, the Jewish people were not after Jesus. The Jewish leaders, right? Like, we're people and we have leaders and they do things we don't like, right? The Jewish people are innocent, but their leaders were guiding them wrongly, okay? And so what their leaders did is they took the original 10 Commandments and they put so many burdens on the people that they barely could get out of bed without committing a sin, all right? So they had a lot of things they couldn't do, shouldn't do, wouldn't do. And one of the things was keeping holy the Sabbath day and not working and all of that. So Jesus' apostles, they're in the field, his apostles, his followers, his core guys, right, his A-team. So they're walking through the wheat field, and they're picking grain, throwing it in a pail, right? Oh, can't be picking grain on the Sabbath. That's a no-no, right? So they're picking grain. And so the Pharisees come up to him, and they say, hey, Rabbi, you with the guitar singing Kumbaya, your dudes are picking grain, and we don't like that here in Jerusalem. That's a no-no. God is going to kill you for that. You're working on the Sabbath day. Ba, 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 ba. So they're trying to trap him, right? And he says the simplest line, one of the simplest lines in the Bible, and he says, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Boom. I love Jesus. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Love, my friends, is mercy. Beyond forgiveness is mercy. Okay? We say in the Catholic Church, God have mercy on me, forgive me my sins, and bring me to everlasting life. Mercy is above forgiveness. It's a love that encompasses and forgets and renews and repairs and brings us back to faith. And so I love what Jesus says. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Are we sometimes in our love relationship, are we sometimes even in our faith, so into the sacrifice, so into gotta do, have to do, should do, will do? Are we so much into that we cannot extend mercy to people? How can we love then if we can't extend mercy? Think of that the next time you think, or we think, I think, right? What do we say here? You, me, we. I think that what I'm doing is right. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Just let that sit with you on the way home. And that's what the Sanhedrin and the Jewish leaders were doing. They were putting so much on the people that they thought that they had to sacrifice. Guess what? They weren't seeing their fellow man as they were. That's why St. Paul, in his letters, had to remind them, be compassionate, be patient with others, bearing with each other, love one another as I have loved you. How does he love? Seeing past the faults. That's what mercy is. Seeing past the wrongdoing. That's what mercy is. Seeing past everything that holds us down and weighs us down. That's love. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. We look at Roy Croft, and he says, and this is beautiful, and now we're going to be getting into romantic love. So this starts off our romantic love section. And he says this, and he is a poet and a writer, and he wrote the poem called Love. So it says this: I love you not only for who you are, but who I am when I'm with you. Boom. Isn't that the truth? All right. If you're in a true loving relationship, if you're in a good relationship, like I feel with Lady Diana, I love her for who she is, but I love the person I am with her. That's what love is. It transforms us, okay? It takes the good that we are, right? Coal becomes a diamond, but it starts as coal. But love can transform us. I love you who you are. Say that to your spouse or your significant other. But I love who I am. In other words, I become more when I'm in your presence. Beautiful, beautiful thing by Ray Kroc. These next two things are just beautiful, beautiful love things. Psalm 14, verse 3 to 8. This is beautiful. You want to hear this every morning. Ready? Let me hear in the morning of your steadfast love. For in you I trust. Help me to know the way that I should go. For you lift up my soul. Wow. Wouldn't you just love the person you love to tell you that? You, Diana, lift up my soul. You tell me the way I should go. Tell me not some mornings, not those mornings when it's the birthday or the Valentine's Day or the anniversary. Tell me every morning of your steadfast love. See, love, we want to be in it, but you need to feed it and nurture it. I hear so many times when I'm doing some counseling sessions, guys say, oh, she knows I love her. Tell her. It says here in Psalms, tell me every morning, right? And then in Lamentations, it says, God's mercies are new every day. Isn't that beautiful? So his mercies, it's like, well, if you messed up yesterday, that's it. Every day. So our love, our steadfast love, you I trust. Let me hear that every morning at the start of every day. Imagine that. That's what love is. If you love someone that much, you'll tell them, and they will lift up your soul. That's what they mean by soulmate. Diane and I say that all the time. Our souls have been lifted to new heights, to a new essence. In love, do all things. We look at Song of Songs from King Solomon. We don't have time to get into him, but he was a king. King Solomon, nice guy. Anyway, chapter 4, verse 9, and he wrote these beautiful love songs. You'll love this. They were poems, but they call them songs. You have, and I think about this when I think of Lady Diana, you have captivated my heart with one glance. Boom. And I'll talk about that next Thursday. It'll be a totally unscripted show, okay? And we'll talk about that. There'll be no Bible quotes, nothing on the big screens behind me, but we'll talk more about that. But you have captivated, and she has, and I hope and I feel I've captivated her, where it just sweeps you, right? And we've seen romantic movies, and they come to an end, and people say life isn't a movie, but it can be a movie. A little bit. It can be a movie if you share your feelings, if you make time for the person, if you call them, all right, to see how they got to work that day, all right, if it was a little rainier, inclement, ask them how their day was, and then shut up and listen. Right? It took me almost 30 years to learn to do that with Lori, but it's something you have to learn to do. That's what love is, okay? There's the communal love we talk about, and we talk about romantic love. Maya Angelou, and I relate to this, and there's a lot of people that I know relate to this who are in new relationships, new marriages. Maya Angelou says this: have enough courage to trust love one more time. Boom. Have enough courage to trust love. So now she's turning love metaphorically into like a being. Right? So to trust love, so she's going right back to what St. Paul says, the greatest of these, not faith, hope, is love. So she's saying, don't put your trust in faith, don't put your trust in hope, but have courage to trust in what? Love again. And so for a lot of us who were widowed years ago and now, by the grace of God, are in new relationships, we had the courage, okay, to trust in what? In love. Love, take me. hitch your wagon to love and let love take you. Be a loving person, and you'll bring loving people into your life, not only romantically, but friends. Like I keep saying, there's going to be a lot of people, almost 100 people at that wedding, that aren't all family. Most of them are friends, people that Diane and I have met on the journey, who we've been good friends to and exchanged that love for each other, and so they want to be there and share that day. Loretta Young, some of you know her, started in 1934, great actress. A movie I recommend, Christmas Time, The Bishop's Wife. Her, Cary Grant, David Niven, wonderful movie, black and white, classic, 1947. Loretta Young says this: love is not something you find. Love is something that finds you. Boom. Very true in my case, and true in many of the people. Sometimes you're looking so frantically for it, it's like a butterfly, it eludes you. But if you sit still for a minute, the butterfly will land on your shoulder. And that's how love is. And that's what Loretta Young is talking about. Okay? Sometimes it's there, but you have to be patient and trust in God. Okay? And I'll say this next week. I didn't find Diana. God brought her to me. He brought her to me. It's nothing that I did. My total trust, my total faith is always in the one true God. I'm not trying to convince any people here. I know we have all different listeners. You're all welcome. But she was brought here through Almighty God. All right, let's keep moving and getting close to takeaway. Midgion McLaughlin says this: a successful marriage, coming up to that, means falling in love many times with the same person. Don't tell that to my Uncle Funzy. But anyway, falling in love with the same person many times. And I tell Lady Dan, and all of you say, every day you should fall in love again, right? Every day, God's mercies are new. Every day you should fall in love again. Just whether the cup of coffee they make, or the thing they say, or the help they did in the community. You just keep falling. It's not a one-time thing. You go out to dinner, boom, I'm in love, and then you leave it at Vinny's. You keep taking it with you. You keep pouring it out like a libation, St. Paul says. We look over at James Baldwin, and he wrote the book, Go Tell It to the Mountain, in 1953. He says, love takes off the mask. Remember I said about cleaning things up? Love takes off the mask we feel we cannot live without, and we know we cannot live within. Billy Joel has a great song about the stranger, right? So love, when it takes off that mask. Diana sees me as me. I see her as her. I accept her. She accepts me. And that goes into our next statement, where it says when you love someone, you want to edify them, you want to lift them up, you want to help them with their career, you want to help them with what they're doing, grandson, son, all of that. But you're not supposed to mold someone into your vision of who they should be. That's not love, that's control, that's manipulation. Okay, love is the freedom that the person can exist as an individual within the relationship with the person, whether it's a heterosexual relationship, a gay relationship, it doesn't matter. That person has to be free. Okay, and that's what James Baldwin is saying with the mask. Okay, love takes that off. You see the person for who they are and what they hope to become, and you don't mold them, but you walk with them on the journey. Lady Diana has a great poem when I first met. It's called The Hand to Hold. A kindred spirit, she says in the poem, right? Someone to go through life with. So you're not supposed to, in true love, not supposed to mold someone into who you think they should be. And then we end with before we get to the takeaway, Ephesians again, St. Paul, chapter 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives like Jesus loved his church. And that is a great line because Jesus died for his church. And so though Paul is not telling us to die, but to die of self, right? To get away from everything about you and turn it over to her or to him, okay? So husbands, he says, love your wives as Jesus loved his church. Jesus hung on a cross for his church so we can
we can give up self, okay, to open our hearts and our mind and our arms to the other person that we're in the relationship with. A beautiful, beautiful verse there. I'm glad you asked the question we started today. That I didn't know that, and we had but now you understand Ephesians. Okay, good. The guy's smiling back there. Great. Okay. Here's the takeaway, and this is from Robert Louis Stevenson, and it says this: you can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. So you give of self, you give of your time, desire mercy, not sacrifice, okay? Do everything in love. Love yourself first. Take care of the things that might be troubling you. Steadfast love every morning. Tell me of your steadfast love every morning. And build that relationship. Make that person the most important person in your life. And let love carry you and your family and your neighbors and your community. Let that be, as St. Paul says, greater than faith and hope. And hopefully, by the grace of God, we'll have a better world. So, by the way, I just want to clarify, Oscar Wilde is the first person that said, be yourself, everyone else is taken. So I want to give credit to him. I want to thank Catherine for that. George, great job. Marianne, a lot of research. Dan, fabulous with the coffee. I will be here next week, an unscripted show. Should be very interesting. Friday Eve, as Jock says, be yourself. Love yourself. Everyone else is taken. Great song. Move the coffee table. Jock, spin the vinyl.